Production support for this program provided by the UGA Foundation. In a country with Latin roots, there is a vibrancy, a youthfulness, a rhythm, a heel-clicking, toe-tapping, beat-the-drum energy in the cities of Costa Rica. But drive a few hours outside, and you are immersed in nature's rough and tumble playground. Rolling hills, lush forests, mighty volcanoes.
I really fully expect to see a Tyrannosaurus Rex like poke its head out through the trees at any moment now.
Places where you can float into an adventure.
Adios.
Or you can fly.
That first feeling was great. I mean, just going through the fog, you can't see anything.
Now, journey with University of Georgia students as they explore one of the most biodiverse areas of the world, on land and at sea. Travel to a campus with extraordinary educational borders, classrooms without walls.
It's amazing. It's unbelievable what they're doing here.
Where students grow beyond a credit hour.
But I definitely think that our students come home changed as people. Many come home and totally change their major.
WUGA-TV presents a special documentary, The University of Georgia, Costa Rica, Changing Lives.
If a temple to nature exists, perhaps it stands tall in this sanctuary. A wilderness area in Costa Rica where visitors pay reverence to Mother Earth's elaborate tapestry. Wandering through the wonderland of green is a group of University of Georgia study abroad students. For them, the Monteverde Cloud Forest Biological Reserve is a living laboratory, an education beyond the four walls of a classroom. It is here, in one of the most famous cloud forests in the world, that they have met guides like Oscar Fennell, a man who can talk to the animals.
Oh my gosh, it's like speaking its own language.
So much so, it's hard to tell which is bird and which is guide.
Yeah, like we were talking earlier, we don't know if it's Oscar doing the bird calls or if they're actual like birds. You can't tell the difference because they're like the same exact thing.
And at the same time, they got interested when they saw a hummingbird nest with the mama going, sitting on the nest, or when they saw this kind of toucan that is only found in the cloud forest.
But a search is on for a particularly elusive feathered friend. After some false calls and dashed hopes, these students from the University of Georgia are rewarded for their patience with a view of the revered bird. The resplendent quetzal is a signature bird for the Monteverde Cloud Forest Reserve.
Okay, tallest people can see here.
That's the male.
That's the male.
Wow. Las personas más pequeñas pueden ver aquí. Para ser igualitario.
Tiene
Mohawk.
mohawk.
Every year, thousands come here to the Tilaran mountain range to spot the shimmering quetzal. Thousands of years ago, the Mayans valued the quetzal's iridescent feathers as much as gold. They created elaborate headdresses. So sacred was the bird that anyone killing a quetzal was executed. Seeing a quetzal today remains a treasure. Photographing one, even trickier.
It's so frustrating because I can see it and everybody sees it, but the lens won't.
Look, from here. Right.
Just because it's so focused, and they move so quickly, it's not like a tree.
Because this is now the season for quetzal. This is season for quetzal, but that doesn't guarantee that you'll see the quetzal.
The quetzal is only one of a multitude of rare finds inside the Monteverde Reserve. More than 400 types of birds, 500 types of butterflies, and 2,500 plant species exist in this fragile environment. Some insects look like they've been dropped from space, flashy as if dipped in metallic gold. Others are discreet, camouflaged like a common twig. A few species are only found here in Monteverde. They serve as a bellwether for climate change.
Scientists estimate that we've lost 40% of our amphibian species in the cloud forest in Monteverde because of temperature changes and humidity changes. The mean nighttime temperature is raising slightly, and even 1 degree Celsius changes in temperature can have an impact on the canary in the coal mine. The amphibians are very much like that. They're very, very sensitive to slight changes.
Like a divine presence, clouds sweep in to cloak these mountains with a mysterious mist. It's a fascinating phenomenon for visitors like University of Georgia chemistry major Nicholas James.
The most interesting thing when I first got here was being literally on top of the clouds. We're at such a high elevation to where the cloud level is actually under us when we're on top of the mountains. So it's just really weird for me to remember being back at home, looking up into the clouds and seeing how far it is away, and here they're actually under you.
The cloud forest is a type of rainforest, but cooler. The clouds provide life-giving water directly onto plants, fueling a plethora of vegetation growing upon each other.
So a good part of the nutrients of the rainfall actually comes out of the clouds and the moisture in the air versus just heavy rainfall on the ground. So trees and the forest is adapted. They have roots up in the branches that take moisture out of the air and nutrients out of the air instead of just out of the soils on the forest floor.
The forest floor is like Mother Nature's boot camp. There is a constant flexing of the smallest of muscles. Then look up. Big is an understatement here.
See, I can't believe this is like one leaf.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Trees like a strangler fig dominate the canopy. Several hundred years ago, this fig started as a seedling and wrapped its way around a host tree, robbing it of nutrients and killing it. All that is left behind is a circuitous and deadly embrace of roots. Visitors can feel a bit dwarfed, yet enchanted.
I'm a part of this grand system of nature as well, and here you can't forget that, and I love it.
Yogini Patel is a UGA student who aspires to become an attorney.
Cyanide?
Yeah. And
She listens intently and takes notes, but it's a sense of awe that lingers.
oh, really? Mosquito repellent. Yeah. Yeah.
Everything just feels cleaner.
No, seriously, the
Like-
air you breathe is just so fresh. Like I've never you can breathe it all in.
The waterfall in Monteverde provides a perfect break for hikers. The pounding water creates a type of stillness for the mind. After photos, it's back to the trail.
The what? The smiley face on the tree.
Even the trees seem to have personality. This umbrella of greenery has unique qualities.
Something interesting here is that trees have no rings. You can cut any tree here. I guarantee that you won't find any rings. Since there's no seasons here, trees and plants are constantly growing all year round. So you can cut any tree here, you won't find any rings.
You can't get bored. There's always something new to go look at and explore. And when you come, I don't care where you're from. If you're not from here, you don't know anything about any of this. You can read books and whatever, but there's something for you to learn. I'm not in his way. It's like
Emily Phipps is a Spanish major, passionate to absorb Costa Rican culture. On this trip, she's wrapping up her freshman year.
Like do a macro shot. I saw these little bugs.
On the opposite end, KV Vu is finishing her senior year. KV's an agile photojournalist who captures unusual angles.
Oh, this hair in my way.
She showcases skills she's honed as a Georgia farm girl.
I'm a really big tree climber, and so whenever I've had free time, I've just kind of explored trees. But then I climbed all the way to the top and leaned back and just sat there for, 15 minutes. And then a bird came right next to me, and it was blue, and it just sat there next to me. And I looked at it and said, "I'm sorry, is this your house? Am I intruding?" And I don't know, it's beautiful to be able to just take in this nature and to be one with it. And to always remember that, that's beautiful. Like that, I feel like this just doesn't happen in the U.S. a lot, where it's kind of we're surrounded by so many creatures, and we're reminded that they existed before we did.
So how did this living Eden change the lives of a group of UGA students? What transformation took place on a campus tucked away in a remote mountain range? So far away from traditional bulldog territory. Their story begins with a journey. In Atlanta, 17 UGA students boarded a plane to Costa Rica. They were taking study abroad courses, advanced Spanish, creative writing, or photo documentary.
45, which is to my right, and your left.
Most strangers on their way to San Jose.
In the beginning, I didn't know any of them. My best friend was Spenser. I felt kind of alone and kind of isolated, but I had to, make friends here in order to survive, I guess. That was the first initial thought.
Three and a half hours later, they would land in Costa Rica's capital city. Drivers threw baggage on top of a bus, and the adventure began over the rolling landscape of Costa Rica.
one of the things I like most about our trips is driving. I love to drive. I love to be on the road and just see things, just watch and look at things.
Hola.
San Jose, for example, is, it's a city. It's not exactly cosmopolitan, but it's definitely a living, breathing city. And then you also have some mountain roads that I could wake up and be driving on a road in the middle of, southern Georgia. And then, of course, you find yourself in the middle of a Jurassic Park set.
They would head from San Jose toward the Cordillera de Tilarán mountain range. This area spans the Continental Divide, a place where you can literally have one foot on the Pacific and another on the Caribbean. Trade winds from the warm Caribbean Sea drive moist air toward the mountains, and the mountains push air upwards to cooler elevations. The collision of weather and geography produced the constant clouds and a home for an amazing array of species adapted to live on either side of the Continental Divide.
Costa Rica, with 0.1% of the world's landmass, is the most biodiverse place on Earth, with 4% of the world's species.
The San Luis Valley is a remote and tranquil area. Its people echo the texture of Mother Nature's blanket of beauty.
They also have a lot of, compassion, and they're very friendly, very, peaceful people. And I think that that's something that is hard to find in most communities nowadays around the world.
Tucked into the saddle of a mountain range, bordering the Monteverde Cloud Forest Reserve, is the campus of the University of Georgia, Costa Rica.
It's a full sensory experience. When you are there, you smell it, you see the vibrant colors. You can see it in pictures, you can hear people talk about it before you go, but until you're there, you don't have the full sensory experience. The clean air, the sound of the wind howling through the Monteverde forest, or of the river, the San Luis River rushing over the rocks in the valley. The insects, at night, the howler monkeys, or all these sounds.
Quint Newcomer is the director of the UGA Costa Rica program. He wears many hats: as administrator, educator, and researcher. Quint lived in Monteverde for 3 years during the 1990s. He knew that his skills would be a perfect match when a job came open in 2005 to develop a campus here with the mission of education, research, and service. He started recruiting students on the UGA campus in Athens.
I'd say, so, who knows that we have a campus in Costa Rica, and everyone would kind of look at each other, and maybe one person would say, oh yeah, I've heard about that, but by and large, no one knew.
The property was originally used as a biological research station and an eco-lodge. Before that, a coffee and dairy farm. The potential of dairy farming was what had first attracted development of the Monteverde region by a unique group of people.
It's almost unbelievable. The Quakers came here to escape the religious tensions in the United States, and they wanted to come here to have a quiet, more tranquil place to pray and do their studying.
Quakers fled to the wilderness of Costa Rica because of a war far, far away.
A highly trained and well-equipped North Korean army swarmed across the 38th parallel to attack unprepared South Korean defenders.
The Korean War broke out in 1950. Prior to that, the United States had started drafting young men to serve in that conflict. Opposing all types of violence, Quakers in Fairhope, Alabama refused to register and landed in jail. To avoid further imprisonment, 11 Quaker families left Fairhope, Alabama, and escaped to Costa Rica.
They had heard from connections from other Quaker families in Ohio who had been to Costa Rica. Hey, this country has just recently abolished its army. In 1948, Costa Rica abolished its army. And it's a very peaceful place, similar values. You should look at Costa Rica as an alternative.
With a pioneering spirit, the Quakers built homes, a school, and a cheese factory. But there was one place the buzzsaw was silent. To protect their water supply, they saved about 1,400 acres from deforestation. By the 1970s, that preserved patch of forest was luring scientists and bird watchers from all over the world. When University of Georgia representatives started looking at how to develop land adjacent to the Monteverde Cloud Forest Reserve for a campus, the area was still very rural. Travel there proved a challenge for anyone, much less hauling construction material up the dirt winding roads.
They used to go there by donkey, is how they used to get there. And that only took 30 days from San Jose. When I arrived there the first time, the majority of travel was by horseback. The road was very, very narrow, and they had one milk truck. And every morning the milk truck would come and collect the collective milk cans. And that was the only way you could get up to the main town, was getting on that milk truck. And that was about 2001, 2002.
After the university bought the property in 2001, Professor Greg Coyle brainstormed with UGA students in the College of Environment and Design to develop a master plan for the campus.
The hardest thing was selling the community leaders on the fact that it was not a hotel, that it was going to be a college. But every time we built something, they wanted to know how many people it was going to sleep, how many beds we were going to have, even when I built the student union.
Working with a Costa Rican architect, they developed a signature design for the campus that would harmonize with its surroundings: tropical hardwoods, traditional red roofs, and open-air buildings.
And that was the biggest thing, was try to integrate it in the community of San Luis. That was probably our number one goal, is to make sure that we kept the vernacular of that rural fabric that they have.
Professor Coyle compactly nestled a 14-acre campus onto a 155-acre plot. In 2008, UGA officials dedicated the Costa Rican campus by cutting the ribbon with a machete.
It was a big party. I mean, they had dinner served for everybody, and they had a reception in the recreation building. So it was a perfect day, perfect weather, and the people were just excited to have this thing finally dedicated. It took some time.
10% of the campus today consists of buildings like bungalows, classrooms, or a dining hall. 30% is agricultural production, 60% is protected forest. From the beginning, there was a vision of a sustainable campus. Every structure raised was recycled, and none of the existing native forest was disturbed in building the campus.
Yeah, trees. Hey Chris, what's up? Thank you. Oh, thank you. I feel like I'm at church.
Dr. Quint Newcomer is distributing little sprigs of hope, a type of native tree. The group is about to take part in a unique way to cut their carbon footprint. First, some instructions from the general manager of UGA Costa Rica, Fabricio Camacho.
Like that. Then you hold the tree in such a way that, you see, very little, the dirt hasn't come apart. You put this, your hand underneath, and you place it inside, okay? And then the dirt that's around, you start spreading it out, putting it in and spreading it out very well.
Fabricio, when he was telling us how to do it, and even Chris, he put an emphasis on how gentle and delicate the process is, and how careful we need to be compared it to changing a diaper on a baby. And I just thought that was an interesting little comparison there to, giving life again and taking care of something that you can't just throw it in the ground. You can't just unwrap it and hope it grows. You have to be gentle with it and be intentional about it. So.
Hi, Worm.
Is he doing all right?
I think he's dead because you crushed him.
No, I think he got shoveled.
Here. Oh, me might have gotten shoveled.
While some were naturals at putting their hands in the dirt, others were hesitant about their green thumb abilities.
I didn't think I was going to enjoy the tree planting day because I was like, okay, we're gonna stick a tree in the ground. Fun. I suck at gardening. They said, okay, if your tree crumbles, then you probably shouldn't even put it in the dirt. And I started tearing it apart. I was like, it's crumbling. I don't know.
But Lindsay Davis, an advertising major, persevered. A tree set right. Her seedling becomes one of 28,000 trees now planted in this valley, thanks to the UGA Costa Rica's carbon offset reforestation program.
In many years to come, this will be capturing carbon from the atmosphere. It will help the coffee plantation grow and produce better. It will serve as a migratory route for birds that fly through this area behind us. It will help stabilize the soils in the area, and we'll do research on and understand better how copachi grows over time.
Fabricio's son, Christopher, will farm this property one day. It's his family's property and the site for a future organic coffee plantation.
Maybe birds will make a nest in it and I can feed the birds.
The students bask in the glory of gardening, and at least one had a complete change of perspective about planting a tree.
And I counted the posts, and mine's the 6th post. So, I don't know that I'll ever actually make it back here, but if I do, I really think it would be cool to come back and see my tree, to see the tree that I planted, and to see how it's grown. It represented so much to me, like life, sustainability, personal growth.
I hope that this gives the students hope and an understanding and a sense of empowerment that things can be different, that we can change some of the trends and conditions that we're facing right now.
Is this enough? What if I did that? Is that gonna help? No? Okay, but if I get under yours, it won't.
For many students, Christopher became a favorite playmate.
I still feel it on my face.
He had a rare way of teaching those older and supposedly wiser.
Yeah, that means that it's poisonous and it can stink.
He's very loving. He loves nature and insects, bugs. After dinner we were playing one day, and there was a beetle flying around, and then it landed right next to us. And then, I'm a city kid, so oh, beetles. I'm not about to mess with that, but Chris just grabbed it, and then I'm trying not to show any fear, because if I show any fear, this kid's gonna start messing with me. But he did anyway. He put it on my nose, and I tried my best to not freak out, but I think I did still, but that's how much he loves, just accepts the whole environment and just nature. He was petting the beetle, saying that it's sleeping, and that struck me. Wow, I was like that when I was 6 years old too, and then is what happened to me, kind of thing.
After planting, the students trekked back down the mountain, back to campus, admiring the scenery and the simple life. UGA student Johnny Kim found mimicking Christopher would yield more than just a lot of laughter.
Another incident was that we were in the bathroom washing hands, and once again, as a city boy, I would just press the towel thing like 10 times, like da 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 da, and then get it out. And then he's like, next time you do it little, so we don't have to cut more trees. And then I was just like, oh my goodness. They say, you learn things from little kids, and they say that for a reason. So Chris taught me a lot of things.
Everyone, please promise me that at some point while you're here in Costa Rica, you'll do this. Either lie down on the ground with your arms outstretched, or stand on one of these rocks with your hands above your head. Feel yourself, feel the power of gravity of this amazing planet dangling you into the universe, because that's what we're doing right now. We're telling a story right now, a story that we will pass down to those people for whom we will be ancestors. And the question that we have to ask as individuals, as a whole society, is what story do we want to be telling?
When it comes to protecting nature, Costa Rica is acknowledged around the world as a superpower of conservation. In those footsteps, the UGA Costa Rica campus is a trailblazer, leading the community as a certified environmental steward. So much so, it recently won a national award for its innovation in sustainability.
In Costa Rica, it's wonderful. We don't have central heating and cooling, so it's very sustainable construction in that way. We don't spend lots of energy on heating and cooling our buildings. We use natural airflow to do that.
Look on the roof of student bungalows, and a switch is underway to solar hot water heaters. Instead of a septic system, new biodigesters are turning wastewater into methane gas.
Eventually we will be able to substitute the at least 50% of the propane that we use here on campus. And so is energy independence.
Every step of the way, management involved campus workers and the community. An architect drew up plans for a laundry, but UGA still asks workers for their advice.
You design it the way that it will function for you on the inside. Because he already had it designed, but I said, he doesn't work in the laundry, I don't, you do.
In the kitchen, modern appliances, like a range, were at first rather intimidating.
And they were scared to death of it. It was so modern because they cooked on a cook stove. And we brought in this, brand new stainless steel issue with an overhead vent and everything. It's noisy and everything like that. They eventually overcame that, and now they love the new kitchen. Of course they do. But it takes a long time for them to get used to certain things.
The dining staff serves up fresh, delicious meals every day to students in the dining hall. About 15% of the food is actually produced on campus. The focus is local, and 30% of food carried into the kitchen comes from small farmers in the area. For many students, there's a reconnection of where food really comes from beyond a grocery store.
People always say, well, the food tastes so amazing here. It's very simple food, but most of it's harvested right there, right then. And to have food that fresh is a new experience for a lot of people. To have milk come right out of the cow that morning and drink it that evening. People wonder why our hot chocolate tastes so good. It's because it's fresh.
And speaking of chocolate, students take tours of how chocolate is made.
It's very interesting too. I never knew how chocolate was made or where it comes from. I love chocolate, but I didn't know how it is made.
Also, how that sensational Costa Rican coffee becomes their morning joke. Such excursions by the UGA students help inject money into the local economy.
Many of our neighbors have developed ideas and small projects. Like, for example, one of our neighbors just recently completed his farm tour, his coffee tour, okay? So what a better way for our students to understand, like tropical farming than like going to see a farm that is, like small scale organic farm like in the tropics, like here. And this relationship is like, it has generated a win-win scenario.
For 18 years, Gilbert Lobo has farmed a small piece of property in a sustainable development called Finca La Bella.
Que sin conocernos, confiaron en nosotros.
Siempre viví ahí porque era la finca de mi abuelo.
He explained his grandfather taught him how to raise crops.
So for his grandfather as well, one of the interesting things with the coffee plants was that, I mean, he literally saw them as sacred. For him, they were everything. He took really good care of them, maybe unlike other farmers who might be a little more rough with the plants, not necessarily cleaning them as much. And for his grandfather, I mean, they were very important, because what he found is that anyone can just go out and plant something, but to truly receive the benefits of what you've planted, I mean, you have to take care of it. I really enjoyed seeing kind of the simple way that people can live on a farm, but how simple but still fulfilling it could be, I guess. And it was a really neat experience being able to try carrot that he literally walked out and pulled from the ground. Or drinking sugarcane juice from, the stalks that had been run through the machine.
Ooh. I'll take yours too.
Anyone want more?
Cheers.
Yeah, it's so sweet. I don't want to hold it.
Oh yeah,
Can I try it?
It's much sweeter. I've eaten it in India before, drank it in India before, and there's it's a little like bittersweet, but here it's just like it's all sweet.
I feel like you're sipping on a shot.
Some prefer the juice, some the cane.
It's like gum. Well, it's like celery at first, and then it turns into gum.
The shared sensory experience and the elbow grease left sweet memories.
In a way, it kind of brought me back to my roots back in Georgia. I come from a family that's lived there for probably over 100 years. And I never really got to spend a lot of time with my great-grandparents, but they lived, I think, probably in a very similar way on a farm, raising their own crops and stuff. So it was kind of a neat experience being able to go at the age I am now and see that kind of way of life.
During the green season, rain is a constant companion in Costa Rica. It's the perfect time to seek out the library or the porch of the student union. Students study or just kick back in this central gathering place.
I like sitting out on the patio. Like, that's what I write. That's where I sit on campus, because when it rains, you can hear the rain, and you're not getting wet, but you can rain, and I love it here because it doesn't rain like overwhelmingly overpowering. It rains in mist. Like, it rains in mist as if the rain is careful as to not disturb any other living being. It's so beautiful.
While Yogini says she's not usually a poet, the setting inspired her to write about the strange tree, the strangler fig. The natural beauty often stimulates students to flex their creative muscles and stretch beyond their comfort zones.
I kind of was like, creative writing? I'm not a good writer. I don't think that I want to take that class.
Lindsay was attracted to the trip by a photo documentary class taught by UGA professor Dr. Spenser Simrill. She ended up taking another class from him as well, creative writing.
Surprisingly, it's been one of the more enjoyable aspects of this trip for me, was kind of rediscovering my voice as a writer. It's definitely something I'm interested in pursuing more. Maybe in my final semester of college, I'll take another creative writing class, because I've really, really enjoyed it, and I'd like to keep fostering that skill, I guess.
Campus programs are concentrated into two areas: language and culture, and the environment. There are nearly 30 different disciplines.
Release the pressure, all right?
From geology to dance. Dr. Aurora Thorgerson teaches advanced Spanish.
I love to be here on campus because it's like a sense of peace. I never thought I was going to like it, being so isolated, but I love it.
Dr. Thorgerson requires her students to keep a journal.
If they don't write it down, then years down, they are going to forget about it. Like 10 years down the road, 20 years, maybe they can tell their grandkids about when they came to Costa Rica, and they can just tell their own experience and how they felt at the time they were here.
Students like Nicholas James often stay with Costa Rican families for a few days. The homestay experience usually exponentially improves their Spanish skills.
No puede ir porque yo tuvo demasiado trabajo hoy. Tuve. Well, I'm studying chemistry at the university and hoping to become a doctor one day. And in the United States, it's imperative to be bilingual in Spanish and English, especially nowadays, just being able to interact with the patients and be able to truly understand what's going on with their symptoms. And having this knowledge of Spanish and English, obviously, is going to pretty much help me, get a job and do well at my job and be the best I can be.
In addition to homestays, students stay in bungalows on campus.
Extremely nice facilities, hot water showers, fresh home-cooked meals. It's a beautiful environment, a very safe environment. We don't worry about malaria and other issues. Our water comes fresh out of a mountain spring that is potable, and so it's not, you don't worry about many of these kind of things that you worry about in other tropical countries.
Students from other universities across the nation also come to UGA Costa Rica.
The staff here have been just top-notch, always warm and hospitable, very friendly when we go on the tours, and they act as our guides. They're very professional. They get to actually, I think one aspect too about the staff is they get to know our students. I'm very jealous that that University of Georgia again has this facility. I wish a lot of other institutions had something that you guys have. Could you call it that diamond in the rough? Absolutely.
There are climate-controlled laboratories available for experiments on campus. Scientists and research interns make UGA Costa Rica home for a few days to a few months, working on a variety of projects, from measuring water quality to analyzing the campus's carbon footprint.
Hey guys, look, I think we're gonna do this spot right here.
Our goal is to take into account all the emissions that is coming from the campus and from all the visitors that come here, from the cooking that's happening, from the people living here, from the commutes, from the flights, and see how that can be offset by the tree forest area.
And while you might not think of a campus as a tourist destination, more than 500 tourists stay at the campus's Eco Lodge each year.
When we got here, there were some people from Germany, but just yesterday a group came from Australia. It's not uncommon to find people from different countries or different places from the US here in this campus, because this is just ideal.
In San Jose, UGA students found a whole new rhythm together. The students visited a music academy where they heard about the history of sound and tried out different instruments. Musical ability wasn't necessary, but a few students formed an impromptu ensemble. Outside, on the streets of San Jose, the city has its own unique pulse. Street performers play to audiences and stopped traffic. Anything for a tip from a busload of American students.
Here, quick!
San Jose is an eclectic mix of modern and old world. The same rhythms of life, children to school, adults to work, play out in this capital city as any other. As the largest city, it draws more than 1 million people each day.
And what interested me the most was that everyone, instead of having cars like in Atlanta, where everyone's honking and screaming at each other, they just have one really wide street that they all walk on. That's kind of their main highway. And 50,000 people live downtown, and it was just amazing to see 50,000 people just walking to and from work and shopping and whatnot.
The city is heavily influenced by European styles, especially treasures like the National Theater. Inside, theater-goers are captivated by gilded ceilings, bronze chandeliers, and Italian marble.
It took them 6 years because in the beginning they used a tax on coffee in order to build it. But as the project was developed, they wanted to add more and more things. So at the end, money wasn't enough. So they had to add a tax on rice and beans, which was and is actually right now something that we Costa Rican people eat every day on every house.
Beyond national monuments, San Jose's parks and plazas supply their own education. It's people-watching heaven. Costa Rican families relax and enjoy, holding a newborn or even getting ice cream. In Francisco Morazan Park, the Temple of Music is a favorite hangout for performers. Beyond breakdancing, it's an excellent site for bands and concert performances. At night, the varied tempos of the city become even more pronounced. The city has a vibrant nightlife. UGA students visited several music clubs, experiencing everything from rock and roll to jazz and Latin samba.
We saw a flamenco dancer one night too, and he was incredible. He was so, I've never seen anything like that outside of like YouTube videos, but he was awesome. And the guitarist looked like his hand was just like hooked up to like a machine. It was ridiculous, but I enjoyed it so much.
Inside San Jose, UGA students geared up for an exhilarating adventure on the Pequari River, a 67-mile river that flows into the Caribbean. Guides divided students into teams for each raft and delegated best seating to tackle the rapids. One guide recognized team captain potential in Yogini.
2 minutes in the thing, he asked me, like 4 foot 9 inches, like 95 pound, like me, to switch places with Jason in the front. And like I looked at him like, you gotta be kidding me, like me in the front, like, you know, taking the brunt of the waves, like having to keep up with like Walker, me balancing Walker's weight, like this is not gonna work. And he's like, no, 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 like go, 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 you got this. And I was like, and he was like, no, just do it. And you know, I did it. And I don't know, like I'm so glad that he did it because like it was like a moment where he believed in me when I didn't believe in myself.
The students drifted past Costa Ricans who draw life from the Pequari.
Hola,
In certain sections, centuries seem to roll backwards.
I just remember looking up and around me like, I really fully expect to see a Tyrannosaurus Rex like poke its head out through the trees at any moment now, because it's just so insanely vivid here. It's the colors, the intensity of the vegetation.
Canyons shimmered with waterfalls. Students clambered out of rafts.
I think that's one of those instances where I really was just kind of let myself go to like, wow, this is so much fun.
It's really shallow. You know it's shallow.
That was one of those times where it was completely okay to scream and yell and just have a completely crazy fun time. And then there were the quiet moments when you're drifting through the canyon and you're looking around you at all the amazing vegetation and the life in the waterfalls and the colors, and it was just more quiet. So it was really a very interesting contrast.
The students learned how to work as a team on the water and celebrated life on the raging rapids with a popular Costa Rican phrase. The students' travels also took them to the resort beaches on the Pacific. They rode horses across the stretches of white sand at La Playa Samara. And they took boats out to search for sea life.
Huge! Look! Oh, look at its little head!
They were met by graceful visitors right at their boat. For Dr. Aurora Thorgerson, seeing the dolphins is always a highlight.
It's just their face. They look very happy, and the way they swim and how they were jumping, it's fascinating to me.
From the idyllic, peaceful coast to the lush northern plains, the students crisscrossed the Costa Rican countryside.
Costa Rica, we were told, it's so tiny, it's such a tiny country. But everywhere we go, it takes 4 hours. Everywhere we go, the people are very different. Everywhere we go, the food is very different. And so to me, that level of concentrated diversity is so unique, and I've never seen anything like it.
Both the scenery and the animal life changed every few hours.
the monkeys and the cows is the one thing that is sparking the most curiosity out of the students, because they're not used to see monkeys or cows on the road.
One stopover was to Costa Rica's popular volcanic region. Lake Arenal is a 48-square-mile man-made lake that rests in the shadow of a still active volcano. The view inspired gymnastics.
Woo-hoo-hoo! Nice one, Angela.
But for a panoramic view of the volcano and the rainforest, there was only one way to go: a hair-raising ride.
Ziplining was just spot on. Going through the fog, you can't see anything. But if you look at the side, you see all these mountains and you're just flying through there. It gave me more like possibilities, like, wow, I'm flying kind of feeling. It's a different sensation that I will never forget.
While not on this particular trip, an unforgettable figure has journeyed to these parts as well.
I think Harry loved it. Harry went ziplining. Harry explored the Monteverde cloud forest. Harry went bird watching. Harry went river rafting. Harry surfed at the coast. Harry went and visited the kids in the local school, and that was really something because these kids had never seen anything like that. Mascots per se in a big suit like that are not common in Costa Rica. They pretty much don't exist. And so to see this gigantic bulldog running around through the community was quite an experience, but the kids all loved it. I think Harry loved it.
"17 UGA students stepped into a new world. They fell in line and learned the language and rhythms of a different land."
I would definitely recommend it. It's been an invaluable experience. I'm happy I did it, and I wish I could stay longer.
But after 3 weeks of traveling through Costa Rica, all good things must end.
When we were coming back from Arnell, I turned around at one point on the bus because I was sitting at the front, and I turned around and probably half the bus was just kind of like leaning on each other like this, just asleep. It was precious. It was incredible. Where on the first day when because we didn't know each other before, we got to the airport and we're like, hey, you kind of look like a student. This is weird, but do you go to UGA? And now we're just like kind of like cuddling up together. It's really funny.
Watching the relationship between Fabricio Camacho and his son Christopher Some students reevaluated their relationships at home.
His relationship with his dad also brought me back memories with me and my dad. They would play soccer one day on the field together, and Fabricio would, you know, kind of tease him a little bit, you know, not letting Chris get the ball. And that reminded me of my dad, because he would do the exact same thing to me, and I would always get angry at the end of the day of playing soccer with him. And then I was like, oh, I'm gonna be my dad one day. Back then, I didn't fully feel that father love when I was that little, you know, oh, dad's teasing, he's mean. But when I was looking at Fabricio and Chris, I could see my dad's love through them. I was like taken back to my past, and I was looking at myself and my dad playing, and then I could tell how much my dad loved me. It's a great thing to witness what I did through Fabricio and Chris.
Well, I think first thing is that it's always life-changing to them in some way or another. It doesn't make any difference how it changed their lives, it always does. And they always come away a little bit richer, a little bit smarter. And, you know, a person that knows one country knows no countries.
I think it'd be really hard to define to someone the value that this campus brings, other than it's important, it's doing a lot of good things for a lot of people. More people should know about it. More people should understand what it is, other than, oh, UGA Costa Rica, another study abroad program that we have. Because it's really cool. It's really cool here.
But I definitely think that our students come home changed as people. Many come home and totally change their major. And because they learn when they're in this type of an experience what it is they really want to do. And I think a lot of kids come into college not totally knowing, you know, and well, maybe I'll study this because that's what it seems like I should do, or what, you know, their concept of what it is, but they haven't really pushed themselves out of their comfort zone enough to think about, what do I really want to do with my life, you know, and I think this helps them.
At the end of the day, it's just beautiful. The sunsets are incredible up on the porch there. And they're different every single night. There's not one that's the same. It's so beautiful.
I think the best thing here is being able to sit down. This is so cliche, but to be a part of nature. And I think in the States we get really busy with work and school and friends and more friends and people and things, and we don't really just get to sit down and enjoy, look around, hear animals interact with one another. I really get to be the farm girl that I was raised to be.
More than 60 years ago, Quakers journeyed to this land to find peace. Now, hundreds of students travel here each year for education and, in the process, find peace.
I think I feel alive here. When I breathe, like, I actually think about breathing. You know, back in the States, I don't even realize I'm breathing and I'm just doing it because it's just something you do. But here, like, every breath is like, oh, I'm breathing, I'm living, like, because everything around you is living. I'm a part of this, like, grand system of nature as well, and here you can't forget that, and I love it.
Production support for this program provided by the UGA Foundation.